Do you know who Albert Schweitzer was? No. Okay. Okay. In the back there, lady, you. Do you know who Albert Schweitzer was? No. Wow. Very sad, actually, eh? You know who Albert Schweitzer was? You, yeah, you. He's also a great person. But do you know in the back over there who Albert Schweitzer was? Yes. You knew? I'm flabbergasted. Why do we forget all these giants who have made such an impact in our lives? When I met this man for the first time, 11 years old, I had my first suit on, my first jacket and tie to meet this man. And from that moment on, I knew that my life had changed.
This beautiful valley runs high into the Vosges Mountains. It was the native district of my mother and her family, the Schillingers, a family of teachers, pastors, and organists.
Let me tell you about Albert Schweitzer. 1875, he was born on the 14th of January. A man with 4 doctorates. Are you aware of that? Doctor in the philosophy, doctor in theology, doctor in music, and doctor in medicine.
As far back as I can remember, I was shocked by the suffering that I observed in nature. Suffering brought about by the relentless struggle for existence. Still more shocking to me was the pain and misery inflicted on dumb, helpless animals by the negligence and thoughtlessness of men.
As it is in heaven. Give us this.
Even before I started to go to school, I couldn't understand why I was expected to pray only for human beings when I said my prayers at night.
But deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
So when my mother had drawn the shutters and blown out the candle and kissed me goodnight, I secretly said another prayer for all that had life, a prayer that I had made up myself. Dear God, protect and bless all living creatures. Keep them from evil, and let them sleep in peace.
1949, Times Magazine named him the greatest man ever. The greatest man ever, 1949.
As an organist, craftsman, and scholar, Schweitzer might easily have devoted his whole life to music. He chose the jungle hospital instead. But when he has time in Günzbach, it is his greatest joy to come to this place and play his beloved instrument.
A man who has written the most incredible book on Bach, Johann Sebastian Bach. 791 pages, translated in 44 languages. And up until today, a book written in 1901, up until today, the best book ever written about Johann Sebastian Bach. He wrote books about Jesus. The quest of the historical Jesus is up until today seen as one of the best books ever written on Jesus, still being used by scholars all over the world.
When I was 8, my father, at my request, gave me a New Testament. One of the stories that interested me most was that of the wise men from the East. I could not understand why they never troubled themselves about the child Jesus after he grew up. What did Jesus' parents do with the gold and the treasure the wise men had brought? I wondered how they could have remained poor. It also seemed very strange to me that apparently none of the shepherds of Bethlehem ever became Jesus' disciples.
The divinity of Jesus, the nature of the resurrection, the nature of the crucifixion and the value of the crucifixion. All of these were brought up by Schweitzer for question, and many people were upset.
Ideas can challenge the imagination. They can also threaten the established authority. It came to a clash with Albert Schweitzer's book, The Quest for the Historical Jesus, published in 1906. He concluded that the historical Jesus must be a stranger and an enigma. The Jesus designed by 19th century rationalists never had any existence. Furthermore, what little we would know about Jesus was irrelevant to theology, wrote Dr. Schweitzer.
Dr. Schweitzer, do you even consider yourself Christian?
If you mean, do I believe all the dogma and doctrines of the Church, the answer is no. But am I trying to live my life according to Jesus, to help those most in need? The answer is certainly yes.
While we admire your willingness to serve, we have read your theology, and quite frankly, we find it disturbing. You must understand, the work of this society is to heal not only the body of the African, but the soul as well. Placing you in their midst could jeopardize years of work.
I have a doctorate in philosophy, a teaching degree in theology. I am a pastor and musician. I have studied and written extensively on Bach. But I must tell you, all these things I have experienced have failed to quench my thirst. And that is why I returned to study medicine, so as a doctor I can be a comfort to those who suffer. For I have come to believe the sole truth and happiness consists in serving God wherever he needs us. And I believe where I am needed most is Africa.
He wrote about his work in Africa. He wrote about peace. In total, ladies and gentlemen, 42 books that this man has written, while in the meantime serving humanity, building a hospital, taking care of the sick, sitting in the leprosy village while Abbé Pierre is preaching, and so on and so on.
Most of our patients by now know that the hospital is supported by outside donations. But I have always thought they would value the hospital more if they contributed to its maintenance themselves, according to their ability, than if they simply got everything for nothing.